NGN's presentation of the USA Ultimate National Championships brought to you by Elemental Technologies, perfecting the media experience with multi-screen delivery solutions for the modern world. And Patagonia, team sales and discounts for athletes seeking exceptional quality and peak performance.
Hello and welcome to the 2014 USA National Championships here in Frisco, Texas. We are watching the 4-5 matchup in Pool D of Boston's Ironside versus Boulder's Johnny Bravo. I am Topher Davis. You can find me at the Twitter at RealTopherDavis. I'm here with my partner in crime, Kyle Weisbrod.
Oh yeah, you can tweet me at @KDubsUltimate. And we love your tweets. We'll respond to them. We'll mention them on air. If you have good questions, let us know. Or if you have corrections too, because we're not always right, just 99% of the time.
As much as we try, the prep isn't always there, but we're excited to be here for this game. Heart is still pumping from the end of that Scandal and Molly Brown game. If you just bought this subscription or just bought the game between Ironside and Bravo, you should probably go back, rewatch that Molly Brown Scandal, because it is worth the $5, let me tell you.
Yeah, that was quite a fantastic game, and you know, if this 4-5 billing matches up anywhere to where that 4-5 billing in the women's division matched up, we are going to have quite a treat for you today. You know, I mean, these are both very storied teams with big storylines coming into the season. Ironside, you know, kind of the perennial bridesmaids. They've been so close so many times since they switched over to the name Ironside. A bunch of finals losses, as well as some semifinal losses, but always very close. And Bravo, another team that has never won a national title, but with high hopes coming into this season.
Yeah, and Bravo, if you've been paying attention, was the early season favorite as soon as their roster was announced. Just names, stacks on stacks of talent.
They had names on their roster. Lots of
had
names on their roster.
And names that a lot of people recognize. We will see some of them out here today on their offense as the first pull comes up. Here's Josh Ackley receiving the disc. Tough time goes to Bart Watson on the reset. Can't isolate those downfield cutters. Watson to Farrell. Farrell puts it to Smith. It's a floaty disc. Wallach is there. And Smith comes down with it, but there is a pick called on the play.
Oh, and Brody Smith is injured on the play, it looks like. And that's too bad, because before that throw went up, there was a pick call.
The pick isn't going to affect the play. It was well off of the throw to Smith and Wallach. So that touchdown will count. Smith holding his knee, very dangerous because he's had that injury keeping him out of the game for the past couple years.
Yeah, and Smith has been getting healthier and healthier this season. So healthy they actually played double game point against Double Y in the regional finals. And I think a lot of folks were really excited about seeing Brody Smith at full capacity, or at least as close to it as he's been in the last 3 years. But he kind of comes down stiff-legged on that left leg. And that's the one that's been giving him trouble. But now he's jogging off the field.
Yeah, we'll see how he's able to recover. Already an immediate impact, known notoriously for his dominance in the air and with his throws. A big guy who can make throws is going to get a lot of attention. And Bravo starts out the game just as we thought. Exciting play downfield, a big one-on-one matchup. They're going to try to isolate people on deep throws, and right then we saw it run to perfection.
Yeah, both of these teams are teams that want to punch each other and punch the teams they're playing in the mouth, right? They're trying to isolate space, and they trust that their athletes are bigger and better than the athletes that they're playing against, and they're not scared to throw to tight matchups, and we should see a lot of that in this game.
So Denver set to pull the Frisbee. Nick Lance ready to pull. We'll take a first look at Ironside's offense. Received by Josh Marquette. Center to Malachek. There's Alex Capinos. He can't find his deep look, but Brian Garcia wide open, poached. Gets Danny Clark, and a call upfield. A travel is called on Garcia by one of the Bravo players downfield. It's quickly ruled no travel, and Danny Clark keeps it on the sideline. So Clark, now 20 yards to go. Goes up line to Malachek, but great poach D by Jack McShane. He's a strong defensive player on this Bravo line. Now McShane. Back in the center. McShane handling with Brett Matsuka. There's Brett Matsuka with the disc. A transfer from Ring of Fire. McShane again. Doesn't take the deep look. Now gets up line to Matsuka. There's a lot of space in that vertical stack. Matsuka's getting caught. Hammers across and off the fingertips. Oh, and can't get the second attempt. That's Jackson Kluwer with 2 catches almost, but Ironside's offense, after a turn, is able to get it back from an unforced error, and they need to put this in.
That is a really tough upwind back hammer, and here's a big shot deep to Will Neff. Brandon Malachek with that forehand look.
Malachek known for his deep throws, especially those flick bombs, but even the greatest throwers are having a tough time with this wind. It's been an upwind, downwind game kind of all day, and McShane can't catch that one. Ironside has a short field. Looks like McShane is calling a foul on Capinos.
I think McShane thought he might have had a second look at that. I don't think it was on the initial attempt. Maybe we have another shot at this to take a look.
I wonder if he can call the foul on the second attempt because it looked like he was out of bounds coming into play inside.
Yeah, that's a good question. So here's the first look. No contact there. He's turning and trying to get back upfield. Even if he caught it, he was jumping from out of bounds. So the foul is sort of
the observer steps in
negated
and rules a no foul.
So Bravo generating 2 turns on this Ironside O-line, the first Ironside O-line of the game, but turning him back over 2 times in a row. And now Marquette picking up the disc with Ironside's 3rd look of the point.
Garcia now in the center of the field. Brian Garcia, another, well, not another, we're talking about the additions to Bravo. Ironside has had a few of their own. Brian Garcia is one of them. Was a major key in the Blackbird team that won the mixed division back in 2011, 12? So there's Garcia with the disc in the middle. Ironside's red zone, kind of messy right now, but they get it to Marquette. Marquette looking for something, and Nick Lance, great read from the stack. Pass intended for Danny Clark, and Nick Lance is one of those defenders that just is going to make explosive plays all game.
So Bravo's D on fire here early, really doing a great job of denying Ironside on the goal line. Here's another look at this block. Oh, Nick Lance, full extension. Great play from Lance. So disc will stay here with Lance.
Lance goes deep right away, trying to hit Matty Farrell. A big body, and Capinos comes down with it. Hirschberger was all over Farrell, but it didn't look like it mattered. And Capinos sending it deep. Cricket is there, and Cricket reels it in. Looked like he was gonna have trouble, but no problem catching up to that one as Ironside gets their first goal.
Yeah, so Capinos jacks that one deep to Cricket. This is a perfect time for our keys to the game. And here, that's not a look you see very often, right? Capinos throwing it deep to Josh Marquette. Josh Marquette, usually the outlet valve for that Ironside offense. There he is, right all in our face. One of the big keys to the game we got for Johnny Bravo is force Clark and Marquette out of roles. One of the things that Ryan Farrell said to me when we were talking was, how many goals do you think that Josh Marquette is going to score from more than 12 yards away? He thought 0. And there's Josh Marquette taking him deep. But they're trying to force Clark back out. The other big key for Johnny Bravo is to manage their talent effectively. They've got a lot of talented guys, but one of the things that they struggle with is when do those guys go and what are their roles?
Right, that's something that they've kind of struggled with in the season and been a big criticism. That's why it's important for Ironside to vary the defense against a team like this. By giving them a lot of different looks, the Ironside offense can't get comfortable. The Bravo offense can't get comfortable. Already a team that might have miscues from not knowing each other. And for Ironside, they are really going to do well in this game, keeping it tight. Bravo is just 2 of 5 in games. What'd you say, Kyle? Less than 2 points?
Yeah, determined by fewer than 2 points. And you've got to wonder if some of that has to do with who steps up and gets on the field when you're in tight games. That's got to be a tough thing for a roster this laden with talent.
Mm-hmm. And here we go, Bravo's offense. Gibson back in the field, up to Mickle. Mickle, the most recent Callahan winner from Colorado. Finds Gibson, back to middle. Gibson's striking up line. Mickle to Watson. Watson breaks it to Farrell. Farrell can't continue, but he gets the break to Mickle, and Mickle, quick flip, finds Kurt Gibson, and smooth offense from Johnny Bravo, looking real good early in this game.
Well, and exactly right. That is beautiful offense. I mean, we talk about how talented Bravo is, but what it comes down to for any team that's looking to win a championship and trying to make that step to be the best team in the country is you've got to use the players that you have in the roles that they can play in. And what Bravo does so well in this point is they just distribute. They hit open receivers, and when they're there, no one holds it for very long. They break the mark, and they switch fields. You know, it's all the basics, but you can do it with so much better when you have all this talent. But if players on the team think, oh, I'm above the system because I'm so talented, that's when Bravo's going to fall apart. So that is a beautifully driven point from Bravo.
I absolutely agree, especially on those break mark throws. A lot of teams can get stuck by not having the players to be able to get it off the sideline or be able to attack that dead side. On Bravo's line, any one of their players is going to be aggressive and confident with hitting a dead side throw. No one has to shy away from that cut or that throw.
So the Westfield Ultimate Frisbee team wants a shout out. They are watching this game as a team together. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Definitely keep tweeting at us. Love to hear it.
Maybe the Westfield Ultimate team can also tell us where Westfield is?
I don't know where Westfield. I'm guessing New Jersey. If I had to guess, I'm going to say New Jersey. Oh, it says Westfield, New Jersey. Nice.
Hey. Here we go. Now back to the game. Garcia isolated in the center stack. He gets it up. Will Neff. Will Neff to Rebholz. Rebholz, a big anchor on this Ironside offensive line coming out of the University of Wisconsin. Now to Marquette. Marquette gets the break around Malachek. And Malachek trying to go to Marquette, but easily swooped by the Bravo defender. And Nick Lance wasting no time, reaching for Henry Conker. And Conker able to bring it down, floats it in front, and Tim Morrissey reels in the first break of the game. And Bravo takes an early 3-1 lead.
Yeah, and what Ironside did right away there, once that turnover happened, Conker attacked. He was guarding Malachek, and they attacked deep. And that is what we saw Machine do over and over again in the finals of ECC against Ironside. They took Malachek deep off of turnovers and really put pressure on him to show off his defensive chops, and Conker outbreeds him on this play and then able to dish this in. Andrew Mangan, one of the older players on this Johnny Bravo lineup, with the D there on Josh Marquette. And 3-1 Bravo with the first break of the game.
Well, it's interesting, Kyle, that you say that teams are trying to test Brandon Malachek on his defense ability. He's known when he was on the University of Wisconsin and the very strong program that won 2 championships and 3 finals appearances. He was their big defensive player. And for the Ironside team, he was their big defensive handler guard and someone on the turn to be able to throw that.
Yeah, so I think that your point is exactly right, and I think that it's that he was a great threat on turnovers, but what he's allowed to do on the D-line is pick his matchup, right? So he can take a weaker matchup and not have that maybe his weaker defense exposed. And obviously anyone playing at this level doesn't have weak defense. I don't mean to say it like that. But he can pick his matchup, whereas here, they get to pick his matchup, and then on turnovers, they get an advantageous look.
Well, we'll see how Ironside's offense can respond after their first break. Will Neff is in the middle of the field. Able to get it to Garcia on the sideline. And a pick is called downfield. Garcia on the sideline, marked by Hilka Snyder. Snyder, a strong defender in the air, and Garcia, a handler in a handler role, probably trying to get that big, long matchup so that Garcia can't use his height and length as an advantage for breaking the mark. It's Marquette in the center of the field. It's the reset to Rebels.
Bravo Mark's very active and aggressive and making it very difficult.
Wow, Will Neff absolutely saving that point. Sees the defender. Great possession saving grab. And Ironside just keeps going on without batting an eye. Garcia, 20 yards out the end zone. Inside break to a wide open McNaughton. McNaughton gets it to Cricket, and Cricket 2 of 2 for Ironside scores. And that's something we'll probably see all game.
So we're going to take a quick look at that Neff catch here on the replay. This is a high stall count. The Marks are doing a great job to throw out and around, and Will Neff full extension with that 6'3" frame of his, pulls it down.
Yeah, he's cutting under. And
I love this Boo Garcia break right here. That was a low I.O. backhand break out to McNaughton, and then McNaughton pivots to the inside and then steps around, easily able to hit Marquette. There's another look at that I.O. break. Whew.
And before that break happened, I was just thinking that the Ironside offense doesn't look as comfortable as the Bravo team does. They're not like attacking the break side like you would expect them to. And then Garcia really kind of shuts my trap there by getting it all the way across the field. And if he can continue that kind of play and that kind of smooth, confidence-building, space-building throws, Ironside will continue to be successful in this game. Right now, they're facing a 1-point deficit.
Well, I think what we saw out of Bravo is their marks are really solid. They're very active, and they're making it very difficult for Ironside to find those break spaces. But the two passes, the pass that led to the assist and then the assist itself, were both break throws. So Stubbs with a big high backhand rolling pull that's out the back. You know, one big piece of the Ironside season this year is George Stubbs moving over from the O-line to the D-line here for Boston.
Right, George Stubbs, of course, the 2011 Callahan winner.
And he draws the Mickle matchup here on the field in the back of the stack.
There's Gibson now on the sideline. Gibson being marked by recent Ironside addition Mark Sherwood. And Stubbs already making an impact on defense. Lay out D against Mickle. This is going to be a foul. Stubbs doesn't look like he's...
Let's see how Callahan winners resolve these things.
Could be a lesson for all of us out there.
Looks like an uncontested foul call. That was a great bid from Stubbs, but he got a little of his arm. Here's another look at it. Heck of a bid, but he came across and swiped his arm.
Now you can hear the gust as as Bravo is working upwind. I don't expect this to affect their play. Break throw over to Keegan on the sideline. Keegan continuing it to that break hand sideline. And Farrell drops the disc on the reset. There goes Russell Wallach, unmarked, but Alex Simmons can't get the throw to him. Credit the Bravo D down on the mark on the Frisbee to really stop that throw. Wallach had no one around him for a couple yards, and that would have been a sure goal.
Yeah, Wallach really heads up on the turnover there, taking off. He's guarding Bart Watson. That's definitely a matchup to watch. Wallach, you know, Ironside tends to put Wallach on the player that tends to touch the disc the most and is scary with the disc. They love him for handler defense. Wallach drew the Bob Lou matchup against Michigan, and here he's drawing the Bart Watson matchup, trying to deny him the disc and then run him on turnovers.
So Bravo with their second opportunity to score in this offensive point. As Mickle goes across to Gibson. And Sherwood foul on the mark. It's gonna reset at 0. As I was saying, Sherwood, known player for Revolver back when they won the championships 2009 through, well, last year. I don't think.
Yeah, Sherwood has been on that team, I think, since the founding of the team. He's a Stanford grad.
Now Bravo's offense, Gibson with the disc to Farrell. Goes all the way around to Watson. Floats in the air. Wallach can't catch up. Watson is able to bring it down. Up to Smith, back on the field after going down in that first point. Watson in the center. All the way around to Gibson. To Mickle. Mickle pushing it upfield to Gibson. Gibson's spending a lot of time with that disc, wanting something to open up. Now Bart Watson's turn to hold on to it. Resets to Farrell. Mickle can't get a hand on it. Stubbs is able to bring that one just outside. Ironside's second chance to get a break at this point.
And a great goal line stand there from Ironside. They really forced a lot of throws near the goal line here. And eventually that throw out to Mickle. Mickle can't quite come down. Great effort on his part, but good pressure from the Ironside defense in that short field area. Oh, and Kurt Gibson trying to get it right back. It looks like a point block on Sherwood, but Sherwood calling a foul. Gibson not happy about it.
Right, I'm very excited to see how this matchup develops throughout the game.
Well, both these players are known for being a little bit spicy, for kind of, you know, thinking their way when calls go, right? When they don't see the other team's point of view quite as frequently as maybe Stubbs or Mickle will. So the observer rules that it is a foul. This was going to come back to Sherwood. Gibson not happy about it.
A lot of the times a top player like Gibson, if you know something like that happens in the early of the game, he's gonna put on the switch to turn it on. And here goes a big hug from George Stubbs, catches that wind, floats all the way to the back of the end zone, intended for Jim Foster, but that's going all the way back to Bravo. Bravo, third chance to score in this offensive point. So far, they've given up on 2 unforced errors, drops on both sides. Let's see if Ironside can earn the disc on a short field or if Bravo is able to punch it in. And Watson elects to take the timeout after a long point. And their early timeout, we're going to take a timeout as well. Come back for the continuing coverage of Next Gen Network's USA Ultimate Championships. Welcome back to play at the 2014 USA National Championships. We are here watching Denver's Bravo, Johnny Bravo, take on Boston's Ironside. Bravo started this point on offense. They're on their third possession so far, working it up 70 yards. Ironside trying to get a much-needed break back. As Smith catches it in the middle of the field, immediately goes to Mickle. Stubbs is there. Stubbs goes up early. Both misread it. The disc hits the ground, and Sherwood picks up, quickly finds Hatchett. Hatchett to Wallach. Wallach trying to get the reset to Stubbs, doesn't find its target. There's Gibson in the middle of the field. He wants to go deep. And great D from Russell Wallach, getting ahead of that for the intended target of Ryan Morgan.
Russell Wallach with that D for Ironside.
Yeah, that was a great D. He went over the top. Morgan had no idea where he came from. So Ironside with their fourth opportunity to break on this point. Excuse me, third opportunity.
And there goes Jim Foster.
God, we saw that in the Scandal game with Scandal continuing to overthrow those downfield looks. It is a tough downwind throw. The wind is just pushing it and the disc is just riding it.
And this game especially, it seems that the wind is much gustier than it was. If it's a consistent wind, throwers can get used to it. but when it's gusty, you think you're throwing a nice normal flick, and the wind will take it. So now Farrell, fourth possession, trying to punch this offensive point in, having to go 70 yards upwind. There's Mickle. Back to Watson. Watson to Gibson, Gibson to Keegan, but it is low, a drop. Ironside on their fourth possession, 3 unforced errors from Bravo in this point. Ironside was able to get 1D, and Ironside does an unforced error of their own. Alex Simmons drops the disc. Now Bravo only having to work it 35 yards instead of the 70 that they've been facing.
Yeah, these teams are proving the old adage true. You can take Nationals out of Sarasota, but you can't take the Sarasota out of Nationals.
Oh, the old familiar wind. There's an injury. Gibson is down near the goal line.
Kirk Gibson injured on the play. Looks like he's okay.
There will be no substitutions.
Stay in the game. Bart Watson with
Staying in the
for
game.
Bravo.
Bart Watson with possession.
In on 3, guys.
This has been a long, grinding point. Both teams now with 4 turnovers apiece. We've also had a timeout. Now we're gonna, looks like we have an injury sub.
So the observer might be making Gibson take the injury.
Yeah, so if there's no contact on the play, you're required to take an injury sub unless you're willing to call a timeout. Looks like Gibson's gonna take it, and Clore coming in for Gibson.
Ironside takes a sub as well. Jim Foster comes out and is replaced by John Stubbs. Watson up to Smith on the sideline. And Jackson Clore gets wide open. He's able to reel it in before the end zone. No calls on the play, and Bravo, after a long, long point, is able to punch in the offensive score.
That's Bravo 4.
That is a big, important early point for Bravo. You know, on those sloppy hell points, it is critical to keep grinding and putting it in. And Gibson, I mean, Clore just breaks wide open. And, you know, Brody Smith with that forehand flick, I mean, he may be the only player out here who makes it look like there's no wind at all going upwind. Puts a nice edge down, lots of spin on it. Guy has great wrist step and great stability, and it just holds its edge all the way down there to Clore. So a couple other shout outs. I'm not sure we're gonna be able to keep up with all these, but apparently Ranelagh
What did you
FC,
start, Kyle?
Frisbee
What did
Club,
you
some
start?
team in Dublin. Some team in Dublin wants a shout out. I don't even know how to pronounce this. This is like an Irish name, Ranelagh. And then Ad Harmonics is a company in Boston who wants a shout out. They're cheering on their boys. They got you know, Jack Hatchett from I guess Jack Hatchett works at Ad Harmonics, and I guess folks there were watching. So exciting.
A lot of people tuning into this game, it sounds like, and why wouldn't you? It's an exciting matchup. This is the 4 and 5, as we mentioned, and it's so advantageous going into this round of 16 bracket play to be on the top seed so you don't get stuck with an early matchup against one of the other top seeds. Here, Ironside starting on offense from well in their end zone. Malachek with the disc. Great poach from McShane to stop the pass to Clark. Hirschberger resets to Malachek.
Nice poaching from McShane. Ooh, had a look at that one.
And Marquette able to reel it in. There's Capinos. Will Neff gets some steps, but that disc is floaty. Brian Garcia is going to get in there. And Brian, oh, what happened? Brian Garcia looked like he had a hand on it. Is that Jock
smokes.
Ackley with the disc?
Stanley Peterson. Oh man, we saw that at the college championships, but Stanley Peterson coming from nowhere. Take a look at 22. Over the top. Wow. Snipes, I don't know. You know,
That was a shot.
let's take a look. I'm not sure if Garcia caught it at the same time. Obviously, Ty goes to the offense. I think Peterson had that one first. Folks, that is a Patagonia Play of the Game nominee. It's tough to make those calls on contested calls like that, but what a block.
It looks like the disc falls into the correct hands, and now Nick Lance big fake gets Marquette off his feet, but the disc is going back to Peterson.
Travel call. Disc going back to
Travel,
Stanley Peterson.
quite possibly a no ground tap travel
Ironside.
coming from the end zone into the field of play.
Disc in on 1.
Peterson, a young player, maybe not as familiar with that rule. But now McShane with it. McShane,
Matty Farrell showing his wheels, and McShane hits him in stride. What a shot. Matty Farrell, rookie, younger brother of Captain Ryan Farrell. And McShane puts it on a rope. So Bravo with the break to take it up 5-2.
yeah, and a great confidence builder for Bravo to get a big D like that and to turn around and score on a huck to a very fast receiver. And both of those players aren't ones that we would have had on our radar. These are, is Stanley Peterson a rookie as well?
Stanley Pearson, also a rookie. I mean, he was a big playmaker at College Nationals this year for Colorado. Obviously, Jimmy Mickle, the bigger one. Well, Ironside, feeling the pressure, they're taking a timeout. We will take a short break as well. Please join us as we keep moving on with the first half here of Bravo versus Ironside. Welcome back to first half action here of Denver's Johnny Bravo versus Boston Ironside. Bravo up 2 breaks, 5-2 here in the first half on some huge plays. They've really put the pressure on here early on Ironside, and they're getting it from their depth. It's not just the big names they're making plays like we mentioned. Players like Matty Farrell, Jack McShane, and Stanley Peterson. Let's take another look at the Stanley Peterson D, number 22, coming up from behind. I mean, that is explosive.
That's something that you just pray happens once in every game so that your team can have the energy that comes off of making a play like that. Everyone is going to feed off that, and Ironside on a big matchup to their Callahan winner, Will Neff. Now Ironside has to regroup, take a downwind offensive point. They're outrunning well. Down the sideline to Clark. Pick called downfield.
Disc in on 4. Danny Clark with the disc. Denny Beaches on the mark.
Clark able to get it off that sideline quickly. Now Marquette on the other side of the break mark. A push pass over to Rebels, and Rebels continues to the break side, finds Will Neff, and Ironside trying to find that energy that they need to get those breaks back.
Well, and that's what makes Josh Marquette, at the ripe age of 35, still incredibly effective at the top level of the open division. Look at this little, I mean, I think that's a left-handed lift backhand. Breaks it open, dishes it open, and then just opens up their offense. And then the around backhand to Neff. So Ironside back on the board, 5-3. And they're looking for some answers. They need some breaks to get themselves back in this game.
They need some breaks, and their defense needs to earn the disc. In that point where Bravo was struggling to score, it was a lot of unforced errors. And it's one thing if you're able to take advantage of that and score quickly off them, but Ironside wasn't putting the disc away, and unforced errors doesn't necessarily pump up your defensive line. Those big Ds, pressure Ds, even if the turnovers are just from they've shut down all the other options, that's fine. But so far, it's just been Bravo kind of giving Ironside the disc and Ironside not being able to put it in.
Well, we did see that one goal line stand that Ironside had. It eventually forced a turnover, the wide throw to Mickle where he wasn't able to come up with it. But I think that I would attribute that one to Bravo's stand-up D in the end zone, shutting down those downfield cutters and putting a lot of pressure on handlers. But they need more of that, and they need it for a full 70 yards. Doing it in just the last 20 yards isn't going to cut it because then they still have to work that whole field. It would be great to get some short field turnovers and generate some momentum.
So here we have Ackley with the disc up to Gibson. Gibson goes inside to Mickle. Mickle gets it around back to Gibson. Those two seem to be very comfortable throwing it back and forth to each other. And
looks like there's a call, but Stubbs has continued to count. Now he's stopped.
Confusion on a pick call is my guess.
Well, Gibson was the first one to stop playing, and he's tying his shoe. This is like a crafty veteran move from Gibson to pretend there's a pick call, start tying his shoe, and let everyone stop. I don't know. That was a strange stoppage.
A lot of confusion. You don't see a lot of fiery emotion from Stubbs, but he is over talking with Mickle and the observer, trying to figure out what happened. Very upset that the play had stopped.
Well, I think they're trying to try and figure out what the stall count is on, because Stubbs didn't feel like play should have stopped at all. Looks like it's coming in stall 4.
Well, now Gibson with it, goes to Ackley over his head. Mickle in chase, can't get it off the ground. Ironside.
Bravo turn.
Another opportunity from an unforced turn.
Stubbs with pressure there, but definitely an unforced error there. The throw over Richter's head.
Ingold Smith with the disc on the sideline. He just gets it upfield. Disc is in the air. Gibson hits it. Luckily, there wasn't any Ironside defenders able to make the play, and a high count. Rusty Ingold Smith just tries to get the yards. And here comes Bravo again. Gibson to Watson.
Looks like a forced backhand, but shading sort of straight up. They're trying to take away the deep shots. Pretty active, Mark.
Mickle bobbles the disc, but able to bring it in. Christian Foster, tight coverage there.
Yeah, interesting that Stubbs is now no longer on him. Here's a deep look.
Westbrook just doesn't catch the wind that those earlier throws had. Now Ironside, quick movement. Great job eating up that space before the Ironside set up. If they can keep this up, they might be able to get their break in. Stubbs, leading pass. That one is gonna count. And a break, upwind, finding Sidorski. And that is big for the Ironside defense to get a D, to move quickly, and to put that break in.
Well, and that's the first time I've seen Ironside really find the edge on one of those upwind hucks. Stubbs really puts the edge down, leads Sidorski out to space, and does a great job of putting him out there. And that is a big one for Ironside to make it 5-4 and put themselves right back in the game. I mean, this game started out looking like it was all Bravo, but Ironside, they're a contender. And they're not going to roll over here for Johnny Bravo just because Johnny Bravo made a couple of big plays.
I couldn't agree more, Kyle. The Ironside team did not get to the semifinals from just like kind of putting their heads down when they get down. This is a team that has a lot of heart and a lot of pride. They're here to prove that they're not just they're not just on the outside looking in. They want to be that top team.
Apparently I'm being corrected on the Twitter feed. Neither Stanley Pearson nor Matty Farrell are rookies here for Johnny Bravo. I would call them breakout players. Is that a fair comment? Twitter, let me know.
We will find out. So Ironside also in a good position getting that break to now play defense going upwind. It's not the biggest factor in the open division, but it still is a helpful for the defense to take away some of the Bravos' offensive looks, specifically their deep looks. So here we go with Farrell on the dish back. Can't find Kluwer to Mickle. Back to Watson, all the way around to Farrell. Keeps it up off the ground.
Ironside with straight up marks here, really working to force Bravo to go wide. Now that Bravo's moved it towards about 20 yards away from the end zone, looks like they're transitioning to a forced forehand. Obviously, with the wind the way it is, you don't want Bravo's throwers to have good, clean downfield looks, and straight up helps stop that. Nice around to Mickle. Christian Foster really putting the body on Brody Smith. You know, this reminds me of that 2010 college final with Christian Foster's Carleton College versus Florida. Both teams playing very physically, but Foster really gave Brody Smith the business there.
Oh, I remember that game, watching from the sidelines. Tough game to watch. I believe that was Florida's first championship, well, second championship overall. First since the 2016 that had Brody Smith and Kirk Gibson on that championship winning team in 2006. So now Watson to Smith.
Another stoppage here. Foster calling a travel on Brody Smith. Brody not happy about these calls. Wants to talk a little bit with the observer about it.
I wonder if the observer is gonna lay a TMF on one of the two players.
Yeah, I don't like the way Foster's playing on Brody Smith. So he does uphold the travel here, but I don't think it's to your advantage to let Brody Smith stop the play and see the field. His throws are too deadly for that. You have to let him. You have to keep it moving, and you have to shut him down.
We'll see what Brody Smith can do. Just outside the end zone, flips it. It sits on a shelf for Ryan Farrell to turn upfield and catch it. Bravo's offense scores easily. Well, not exactly easily, but they get the score upwind.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they took what Ironside gave them, which was a lot of throws laterally up the field, moving it from side to side, and then once they got into the red zone, they just worked it the way they work it. And I think that Bravo's offense looked very solid there. You know, certainly you want to force more throws rather than fewer, and I think Ironside was successful in that, but you didn't see a lot of pressure on that point overall.
Right, and that goes back to the point of what I've been saying. Ironside hasn't quite been generating turns on this Bravo offense, but Bravo has been giving Ironside's defense the disc on unforced errors.
So 6-4, Bravo up one break currently. And now Ironside going upwind with their O-line. It'll be interesting as this game closes on half how much Ironside starts pulling George Stubbs over from the D-line to the O-line when necessary, as well as Will Neff. You know, there's guys who are incredibly talented on Ironside, and this game matters. I mean, maybe not as much as it could, but it matters in that you don't want to be the team playing sockeye in quarters, which is essentially the road the loser of this game is going to have. You want to have the easier route.
So Ironside offense now facing an upwind point. Garcia, it looks like Bravo is throwing a zone. Lockie gets a touch on it. Disc is still in the air. Eventually hits the ground. A junk look works for Bravo. They get a short field.
Yeah, Jacob Taylor just bounces off his hand. And what was weird about it is it bounced off his hands and then he didn't follow it because it hung up in the air for a long time. He just watched it and the Bravo defenders converged, and then even after that it hung up when they macked it one more time.
Now we see Jack McShane and Brandon Melichek getting into it on the marks. A lot of intensity and fire between the players on these teams. You can tell the pride is starting to seep into how they're playing and maybe how they're making their calls as well.
Yeah, so they're playing this as just a foul contest. They don't go to the observer. I'm surprised by the number of stoppages. I would expect the observers to begin stepping in and trying to clean this game up a little more.
Great inside break from Jack McShane to hit Clure. Now Lance to McShane. Lance looking around that dead side, can't hit Snyder coming across, and a pick in the stack.
You know, UltiWorld had a great article about the best backfields in men's ultimate, and they only considered O-lines, but when you look at Nick Lance and Jack McShane play, they are creating so many opportunities for their downfield with their throws. I mean, they are just a frightening backfield, and when Bravo gets the disc, they've got such good anchors on their D-line.
Yeah, Nick Lance, while we're talking about Callahan winners in this game, because we could spend the whole broadcast talking about it, the 2012 College Nationals Callahan winner. And he goes
You just
for
cursed
the
him, Turf.
hammer.
You just cursed him, Turf.
I'm sorry, Nick. And it goes for the hammer on that dead side, and it goes straight into the ground. Now Ironside's offense, their second opportunity to score in this point, working it upwind.
And Bravo back out with their junk again. Really clogging the middle field. They got 5 people very close in here.
Hershberger able to pull down a pass that looked like it could have floated and been anyone's. Now Marquette with it. Bravo still in this junky look. It's a loose cup. They're putting a lot of pressure on these handlers, and a crossfield hammer. This sits in the middle of the field. No one can get a read on it. Bravo is off and running.
Sneeder took off before that even hit the ground. It was wide open, but nobody on Bravo was there to pick it up. Loki, Sneeder, and Sneeder over the top to Clore for the goal, and another Bravo break, and the 7-4 lead.
A nice break and a big lead for Bravo. But Kyle, as we learned in this last game, 7-4 was exactly where Scandal was sitting before they started to crawl back before the half, and then eventually, after a long second half, well, I won't spoil the ending for you viewers who haven't seen that game.
But let's just say a lead isn't safe. I agree, but we haven't seen, you know, at the end of the first half of that Scandal Molly Brown game, we saw Scandal start generating a lot of pressure. And I think we need to see Ironside generate pressure. They don't have to necessarily get breaks right away, but they have to start finding the weaknesses in the Bravo O-line and create some opportunities for themselves if they're gonna climb back into this game.
Right, you can almost feel the energy when a team is starting to make that comeback. They feel their backs against the wall. Right now we're gonna see Ironside's offense, and if they can play smoothly and put this in with no turns, we'll see Ironside's defense. And that's really where we're going to see if Ironside is ready to make that intense adjustment, or if they're just going to kind of see how this game goes and if they'll get back in it because of Bravo's mistakes, not necessarily their top play.
Yeah, for Bravo's part, I really like that junk defense they threw, especially with teams going upwind in this pretty heavy upwind. Bravo not known for playing a lot of junk defense. They're a team that like, oh, we're going to grind them person to person every single time. We've got it. We're going to win our matchups. You know, they came down with a really kind of creative and dynamic junk defense. Trying to figure out what's going there. Nick Lance just faked a short pull.
It looks like it was an offsides. I think what was happening is Bravo didn't have their matchups, maybe reaching that delay of game time, and the offsides is more advantageous to.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that they went offsides intentionally so they had an extra second to get set. And since this is the last point before half, seems like a reasonable choice.
So Ironside with Cricket at the center. Up to Neff. Neff sends a laser to Clark. Clark tracking it down, can't find it in the back of the end zone. There's that turn that Ironside's offense was not needing right now.
Yeah, and that's the turn that Ironside's had a few times now, and I think, you know, that's what they're looking for. They want Clark breaking free deep, and they want Neff with the disc throwing that goal. But Neff's got to find the edge there, right? Neff has got to put the touch on it and let it sit for Clark, because this wind is pushing it and making it go fast.
So Bravo with the disc, having to work now 80 yards to get the break to go into half. Lance with it on the sideline, a pick called in the middle of the field.
Away from the play, the disc will stay with Lance.
Some confusion about what's to happen. Disc gets tapped in, and here goes Lance. Center to Gibson. Back to Lance on that sideline. They haven't really switched the field since they got it. And here it goes, Peterson to Gibson. Gibson going deep. He's got a receiver. Brandon Melichek can't get it and flips to Matty Farrell for the break, and Bravo takes half 8-4.
And 8-4 is a statement. Bravo is out here making a statement in the first half of this game, and again, Gibson attacks Melichek deep here with this forehand, exposing a weakness that Ironside has shown earlier in the season, and then from there, it is a very easy score for this Bravo offense. Well,
Bravo seeming to do everything right in this first half. Let's see if they can continue the momentum into the second half, or Ironside is ready to show that they are not going to fall down and just lose to a Bravo team. Be sure to join us for continuing coverage of the Next Gen Network's USA Ultimate Championship. We'll be back after a short halftime.
Welcome back to Next Gen Ultimates, continuing coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate National Championships. This is our last round of the day, featuring number 4 seed Johnny Bravo against number 5 seed Boston Ironside. Excuse me, that is swapped. Number 4 seed Boston Ironside against number 5 seed Johnny Bravo. Second half action, we have Bravo up 8-4, really working in the wind here against Boston Ironside, and Ironside struggling with some defensive pressure. Ironside gets the disc on offense, working downwind, centering up to Marquette.
Marquette wanting to go to Capinos deep on that big poach into the lane, elects to take the free reset, and Ironside looking very smooth coming out of this point. Garcia in the center of the field, able to split 2 defenders, gets the disc to Rebels. Rebels at a high count, just barely gets that off. Garcia on the sideline. Garcia with the scoober up to Taylor.
Taylor, no mark on. Now McShane comes in.
Gets the around, and another scoober from Marquette, able to find Garcia. Ironside gets the offensive point, but kind of just jamming it down that flick side.
Yeah, Ironside, pretty smooth offense. There was one possession there where Boo Garcia had the disc and the stall count got a little high, able to break it off to Rebels. And then from there, no real pressure. Taylor, Marquette, and then Marquette with the scoober over the top to Garcia through the physical contact from Matsuka. So that was a point Ironside needed, make it 8-5. Keeping the game within striking distance, but they still need to do some work defensively here.
We're gonna see how Ironside's defense can kind of respond after that first half. Only one break in the first half, if that. I think they got one early.
Break. They had one break to make it 5-4.
And then it was all Bravo from that point on.
Yeah, Bravo with 3 breaks in the first half. Excuse me, 4 breaks in the first half, so they have a 3-break lead currently. And Christian Foster with the disc. Set to pull.
A lot of hang time on that pull. Bravo setting up in a side stack. Looks like they're ISOing. Bart Watson in the lane just to get that offense going. And Bart Watson immediately strikes deep to Jackson Kluwer. And what a defensive bid.
Jeff Babbitt out of UMass for Ironside with the block there, and that is the type of thing that Ironside needs. Look at him go over the shoulder here of Jackson Kluwer for the block. I don't think Kluwer had any idea he was coming. Not sure he could have done anything about it even if he didn't know he was coming. That was a great block by Babbitt. Holy smokes.
That's exactly what Ironside needs, and if they can punch this in smoothly, working upwind now. Quella with the disc to Ingold Smith. Hasn't got forward anywhere off that goal line. Now they find Sherwood. Sherwood to Quella. Not Quella, excuse me. And Ingold Smith going for it deep over the heads of Christian Foster and Bart Watson.
And Ironside continues to struggle with that edge going upwind. So Bravo getting another opportunity going downwind. Looks like a travel call. Christian Foster calling another travel. The observer rules that it is in fact a travel. So Foster 2 for 2. As much as my voice might be upset about the travel calls, Foster's right.
Oh, Don't worry, the observer ruled it. A no travel. Farrell is going to keep it.
Ryan Farrell with the dish for Bravo.
I misunderstood the hand signal from the observer. Now I feel a little better about the disdain in my voice.
And here comes Bravo's offense, their second opportunity in this point. Gibson just going deep in a high count. Ackley is there, no problem reeling it in as Stubbs and Ingold Smith had a large misread. Bravo, quick score.
And talking about the edges, this is a beautiful throw. Gibson lines it up and he throws this one pretty blady, but his receiver is already down there. He's not throwing that blady throw to a receiver running away who's having to catch up to it. He's just trying to put it in on over top of the defenders, and that is really easy for Ackley to pull in. You know, Ackley, a phenomenal receiver. He's been transitioning more and more into a handler role this year, but that time, downfield for them.
And we're gonna see if Gibson and Ackley and the rest of Bravo are staying true to the keys of the game that we talked about earlier. For Bravo, we were really wondering if they're gonna manage their talent effectively, if they're gonna like have a tough time figuring out that role. So far, it looks strong. The team looks like they've been playing together for a long time. There are certain pairs that seem to work better with each other, but on a whole, they know how to leave the space open. And forcing Clark and Marquette out of their roles, well, look at Ironside's score, and I think you can see that Bravo's been doing that pretty well. For Ironside, their defense hasn't had a lot of opportunity to be on the field, and they've just been running a straight man, and this game has run away from them. We'll see if they can bring it back. But with Bravo, with the momentum, that's just so confident for a team with that much talent.
Yeah, you know, you want to put Bravo in a situation where they have to make decisions about the personnel they have to put on the field in really critical points. And the way this game is looking, Bravo's not going to have to make any of those decisions.
Sarah McCord with the dish for Ironside.
McCord with the disc in the center of the field. A pick call downfield.
On the mark. Coming in on 5.
Ironside offense trying to get this downwind as Clark has it on the sideline. To Taylor, all the way across to Marquette. And a pick called downfield.
In on 3, guys.
So the stall count's going to come in 3 here. Mangan on Marquette. Mangan with a huge foot block.
Bravo dish.
Bravo defense, their first opportunity for a break of this half. Nick Lance with the disc in the center of the field. Takes a safe throw to the middle, back to Lance, over to Loki. Loki, backhand break to McShane. Gets the reset to Forsey, all the way across to Loki. Loki, nice inside break to McShane. Ironside's really flooding that live side lane with defenders, and McShane goes down.
Yeah, he steps out for that pivot. I think he thought that he was going to be able to get that a throw off downfield to Mangan. And I think on the pivot he extended himself too far and may have hurt his hamstring. So he takes one and Mickle comes in for him. Looks like Jacob Taylor's coming off. And
George Stubbs.
Taylor goes off for Ironside. That's
George Stubbs has been on that Mickle matchup for quite some time. Now Forsey to Mickle in the center of the field. Lance.
Another great IO break there from Nick Lance. Gregerson with the disc. Nice space reset out to Mickle. No pivot backhand.
away from the play.
So a pick call downfield stops the disc. Gregerson with it.
Will keep the dish.
Over the shoulder to Mickle. Pick call again. You know, I wonder if we're not so used to all these pick calls because so many teams over the last several years have gone to horizontal where you get a little more space. And vert stack tends to create a little more clog in the field.
Especially with both teams running pick calls, or not running pick calls, as accurate as that may seem, both teams running vertical stack offenses.
Another pick call downfield. Bravo D-line really needing to clean this up if they want to get any kind of fluidity and continuation in their offense.
Lance up to Mickle, sitting on that sideline. Now back to Lance. Bravo has been pretty well contained outside this end zone.
They're struggling to generate downfield movement here. Ironside's defense very good.
Loki just outside the end zone. Misses his first target. Lance is going up line. Misses that, and Mickle trying to lay out. Can't keep the possession. Ironside deciding to slow down their offense. Not trying to strike.
Yeah, and that's an interesting choice. I mean, Mickle hit the ground on that one, and Stubbs, surprising he didn't take off there and take advantage of a Mickle on the ground.
And now the game slows down even more. Marquette and Loki unsure what the violation could be. Maybe Loki came into the stall before Marquette picked up the disc.
Observer seeming frustrated, but not really doing much to speed the game up, just kind of joining the conversation here. Coming in stall 4. That's over the top to Stubbs.
And Neff was going deep, but Stubbs decides to holster his throw. Resets to Garcia. Garcia back to Stubbs. Now he's going up line. Great switch from the Bravo defenders there to take away that upline advantage. Marquette with it. Around to Stubbs. Upfield scooper to Garcia, to Clark, to Marquette.
Another pick call downfield. Ironside really grinding here, taking just bits and pieces of the field at a time. Once there.
Yeah, Ironside seems to really be relying on those break side throws. They're comfortable waiting for that to happen. But in 2 quick throws, Garcia is able to hit Clark, and Ironside was able to score. Their second possession on that point coming out of half. Their offense has just been struggling all day.
Yeah, and their defense not generating much either, and here's another opportunity for their defense to generate something. 6 points on the board, 5 of those are coming from their O-line, but having been broken 4 times, that's not what you want, right? And then on the flip side, the defense has only managed 1 break. So
we'll see. Bravo is facing a downwind offensive point.
And the wind is strong, but this is something they should be able to handle. And like we said, they're getting the disc sometimes, but they're really struggling with edges, both upwind and downwind. They're not getting going upwind. They're having a hard time getting those flat throws out to space that'll hold their edge out in front of receivers. A lot of them are falling short or being pushed down to the ground because they're not stable enough, or they've opened up the edges too much. And then downwind, they're just gunning them past receivers when they got away cuts that are open.
Yeah, and those unforced errors, that's what will really kill a team. If Bravo is able to earn the disc, at least that defense is working hard, and they have a much tougher time to put the break in. But when you just give it to them, they could have been relaxing the entire time, having a cup of tea, and now they're ready to just work it up the field against a frustrated offensive set that just lost their possession.
And sort of the flip side to you want to put it all on the line is that in this format, everyone makes pre-quarters. Everyone has to win 4 games over the next 3 days to win a title, and you have those shots. And there might be some benefits ending up on the same side of the bracket as a team like Sakai, right? And especially if it means at this point do you want to sub incredibly tightly and really run your legs in a game? The difference is between being the 4 and 5 seed going into bracket play. Maybe not.
A foul is called downfield. Sidorsky and Ryan Morgan having some contact. Uncontested from Sidorsky. Count will go back to 0. Ackley up to Farrell. Farrell wanting to stretch it deep, but a good defensive move by Foster.
Looks like Farrell's going to take one. He's grabbing towards his hip flexor, it seems like. I don't know if it was contact or it was just on the pivot. I thought it looked like it was on the pivot and there was no contact. Mickle coming in again.
Ironside doesn't take a sub. Their defensive line is on. Obviously, they've already picked their strongest 7 defensive players, feeling no need to change that out. See what Mickle can do in the middle of the field. Back to Ackley. Keegan. Reset backfield to Ackley. He's able to get it around to Watson. Watson now in the middle of the field.
Oh, Gibson with yards deep.
Continues across to Morgan. And a pick call just when it seems like offenses are getting a groove, a lot of quick touches, the play stops and everything seems to slow down. Even without the pick calls, both teams have been comfortable just holding on from one player to the next. Something that we're not familiar seeing in a lot of the open division.
Yeah, in stark contrast to that last game that was so fast-paced, this game just seems stoppage after stoppage. I think the moral of the story is kids don't play vertical stack.
Now Ackley, high release up to Mickle. Mickle on the sideline to Gibson. And Mickle gets it around, finds Klur just on the sideline. Klur able to keep it in. Bravo scores again, stretches their lead 10-6. And Ironside's defense still unable to create the pressure on Bravo that they need to get back into this game.
Yep, so we found our way slowly into double digits here for Bravo. And we're going to take a quick break here so you can see a message from our sponsors.
We are live back here in Frisco. A pull from Johnny Bravo as they're up 10-6. Ironside's offense taking the field. Marquette ISO'd on a side stack. He breaks up to Neff. Neff in the center of the field. Misses Taylor, but is able to lead him upfield, and Taylor can't get the disc as it hits the ground. A lot of times, trying to put touch on those downwind throws is so hard as the wind just likes to push it and push it into the ground.
And Malachek really giving the business to Evan Padgett there on the mark. Evan Padgett playing through it, though, unlike a lot of what we've seen out here today. Kind of like that.
Matsuka on the sideline, centers to Padgett.
You've got to think that it's a game plan to activate the person who's being guarded by Malachek. I mean, Evan Padgett's touching every other right now.
And that disc looks like it's going to go to Observer. Ironside's calling it down.
Wonder if we have a look at this one. Here's a replay.
This is going to be a very tough call.
That's down. It skipped up into Gibson's hands.
Observer is ruling it down.
That's a Bravo turnover.
I don't think everyone should be moving, but it looks like disc is in play.
Sorry, that was Peterson was the intended receiver there. So Ironside getting the disc back. Marquette to pick the disc up. Well, Malachek can't come up with that one as it gets pushed away by the wind.
Back to Bravo on that Ironside turnover.
2 unforced turns from Ironside in this point. Bravo, second opportunity to get a break. And that one bounces out of the hands of Peterson. essentially no gain from either teams. Ironside got it here, turned it maybe 10 yards upfield. Bravo didn't get much more advantage. Ironside starting in the middle.
You know, it feels to me like Bravo came out, asserted themselves early, and at this point, both teams are just dialing it in. They're not trying to push themselves as hard as they can to win this game. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem like the kind of level we saw in the first half of this game.
Well, Malachek not ready to give up. Nice inside-out backhand. Finds McNaughton in the end zone.
Here's McNaughton, brings it in for the Ironside score.
And we are going to show you.
That's Ironside 7, Johnny Bravo 10.
So again, a 3-point lead here for Johnny Bravo. You know, they're within spitting distance, but Ironside still, I mean, the refrain over and over again, they need to generate defensive pressure, and when they get turns, they need to find their edges upwind. They need to get upwind breaks. And you know, one upwind break here kind of changes the tenor of the game. I mean, if they get an upwind break, make a 2-point game with their D-line now going downwind, it looks entirely different. But as long as they keep letting Bravo score these downwinders.
Yeah, that is, especially with the win like that, that can be a big, big momentum change. It also just adds a lot of confidence to your team, which Ironside maybe needs right now. But we'll see how they're able to respond. Bravo's offensive line has used the space really well in this game.
So Stubbs with the disc for the Ironside D-line.
Subs on the pull for Ironside.
That pull rolls well in front of the brick as Broderick Smith is going to pick it up. Brody sitting back handling a flood, and there goes the Florida connection, but that disc goes well out the back of the end zone.
If you've been watching today, you've seen a lot of those throws. Wrong edge. Gibson again had yards, was open, but he's got to put it a little shorter and find that edge. There's a classic kind of alternate play off of, you know, those split stack run the back plays that you see. That one, Gibson starting the back of the stack, coming under as if he's opening the space up for someone coming in the middle, and then turns the corner and goes deep from there.
Yeah, well-designed play. They just didn't hit it, and so now Ironside's working 70 yards. Haven't quite found their rhythm on this upwind yet. A pick called on the field. Stubbs with the disc, being marked by Mickle. Ironside's offense staring at an upwind break. But no cutting. Stubbs has to put it up. And Stubbs to Stubbs. That's Little John Stubbs getting it out of the air. Of course, by little, I just mean younger. The 6'2" John Stubbs, much taller than his Callahan-winning brother. But a big save to get Ironside. They're just outside the goal line. And Stubbs finally finds Jim Foster for the upwind break.
Well, there it is.
At 10-8.
I mean, that's the break. I mean, 10-8 now going downwind. It is a different game with a different complexion. That's what we've been looking for Ironside. And it took Stubbs taking a shot at a high stall count and Little John Stubbs making the best play we've seen anybody on Ironside make in this game. And that was a heck of a catch. Bart Watson had position on him, and he just took it out of his pocket.
Yeah, and like you said, Kyle, this really changes the dynamics of now Bravo has an offense working upwind. Ironside gets that a slight edge of maybe they can force under, stay under their guys, and if those deep shots go up, they're going to go out of bounds. They're going to be 50-50 balls.
Well, and you know, we have not seen Lil John Stubbs on the field that much. It's worth putting him out here. I mean, he brings a little bit of energy, and he's certainly a dynamic playmaker for this Boston team. I would love to see a little more Lil John.
Well, a lot of that D-line as you mentioned, seem to be some going into the wells of their other players. Maybe Ironside's already looking past this game, but with a score like that, you got to think, okay, well, we're only 2 points away. We have this downwind. Let's ramp the energy back up. I would think that this point will really decide what Ironside does. If they're able to get a break, they might decide, all right, let's throw all our chips in this basket again. If they can't convert and Bravo's offense just sets a clinic going upwind, they might just decide to save it for the 16 rounds and see where their chips fall no matter who they play in the bracket.
That was a gutsy pull catch from Bart Watson. That one was high and blady, and he just took it like a champ and fed it right back up to Josh Ackley. We got another foul call there with Rusty Ingold-Smith on the mark. This team's not shy about contact on the mark. Rusty Ingold-Smith saying another hard mark. Up to Mickle. Mickle with a forehand deep. Farrell's got space to run onto it. Oh, and Farrell with the bid, but unable to come up with it. Pants down. Oh, it looks like Farrell's cramping. Grabbing his calf.
All his energy to get to that one, and he still couldn't quite get it out the reach of his fingertips. Again, this is the third game for these teams.
And it's pretty warm down here. I mean, we're solidly in the 70s. This is not a cool day. These teams are definitely going to the well of energy. And, I mean, as anyone who's played at Nationals will tell you, these are the hardest games you're going to play all season long.
So, a travel is called. A travel is called before the throw to Mickle. That means the turnover doesn't count.
So
Mickle's throw would have been the continuation, and then after that is dead. Unfortunate turn of events for Ironside. And you want to take a guess who called that travel?
Christian Foster.
Absolutely. Something that might have slowed down the Bravo offense, might have kept Bravo with the disc, but now it turns around and hurts them. Bravo has possession. They're not as far as they would have been, but they still have possession of the disc, and that's huge right now.
So now Lance with the disc. Again, a lot of contact. Soft cap is on and will be applied after this point. Disc check back in after the foul call. Reset to Watson.
Play.
Looks like another foul call. Looks like for some reason they're stopping play, but they're going to keep it at 4-she. Reset to Watson. Nice IO up to Nick Lance. And across the field. Keegan. Just grinding offense here, willing to dump swing and take the unders from Bravo. Mickle. And Keegan with a deep look. Mickle doesn't hit it. Back to Lance. Really stagnant cutting here from Bravo. And it looks like Mickle's going to call timeout. Ironside fired up. They're actually putting some pressure on defense. They're proud of that timeout call. They feel like they've got Bravo stuffed a bit. And with that, we're going to hang here with you guys through this timeout. You know, there's about as much action during this timeout as we've seen for most of the second half, honestly. But during this time, we'll do the play of the game. I wonder what they're going to feed us up here for the play of the game. Well, of course it's going to be a Stanley Peterson block.
Big momentum changer of the first half. It drew everyone who was here watching live over to the Next Gen broadcast so they could watch the replay over and over again. I haven't seen excitement like that since Dylan Freechild got that block at Labor Day in 2012. Everyone was over under the booth watching the instant replay on our machine. Congratulations, Stanley Peterson. Your phenomenal play earned you the Patagonia play of the game.
Hashtag SC Top 10. Who knows we'll get that one up for you guys, and maybe Stanley Peterson will get his second Sports Center top 10 of his young Ultimate career.
But not rookie career, as
Not
we have
rookie.
learned, Kyle.
All right, so timeout's over. Stubbs on Mickle. Disc check back in. Big dump. Back to Watson. Mickle working. Can't get open. And Watson with the turnover. And now Ironside with less than half the field to work downwind. Sherwood with the disc picking it up. And around and just pulls this one up in the air. Stubbs
And
following it though.
Finally, something happens for Ironside Way as Stubbs is able to pick up the floaty swing. This is a big point for Ironside if they want to stay in this game.
Ingold Smith. Stubbs just a few yards outside the end zone. And Stubbs going over the top to Foster. And Foster can't reel that one in with the wind pushing it away. Tough choice from George Stubbs there.
Yeah,
Great opportunity for them.
certainly not something that you would expect to see from George Stubbs. Probably known as a smarter player, not someone who's going to take those risks. And now Bravo, their second possession, working upwind. But Kyle, you had mentioned that Ironside seemed very excited at the timeout, even though Bravo still had possession. I think just the idea that they're finally slowing them down is building confidence for Ironside.
Yeah, but putting that one in would have been the real seal and the momentum change. That would have been their Ironside's third consecutive point, and it would have put them
Within one.
within one.
We'll see how Bravo responds as Bart Watson has the disc in the middle of the field.
And another turnover from Watson. Looks like Ingold Smith may have got his hand on it coming off of the reset and getting his hand in the way. You rarely see that not called a foul. Thankfully, no stoppage there.
And here Ironside misses his hatchet, tries to go to Wallach on the inside. They were looking good, moving quickly, but it just doesn't work out for them. So third possession of the point for Ironside, or excuse me, for Bravo, moving upwind. Forshee with the disc. In front to Lance, doesn't get there.
Oh,
Sherwood bidding into him, and Lance goes down. He's holding his wrist.
yeah, Sherwood came down hard on Lance, and Lance was in a really compromised position there when Sherwood hit him. And Sherwood's a dense guy, and he came with a lot of velocity on top of Lance. That looked like a painful injury. And that could be a big one for Bravo.
Yeah, Lance has been doing a whole lot for this line, for this defensive line. He's off the field. He's not moving his wrists.
So I don't believe there's a foul called on this play, however. Looks like that disc was down. I don't think that the contact caused that. So Ironside with another opportunity. You know, I think it goes without saying that neither team is playing at a championship level. You know, we talk about both these teams as championship contenders, but this is as sloppy as two top teams can get. Lots of physical contact here. Keegan on Josh Marquette. Marquette calls a foul. I'm surprised the observers aren't stepping in, calling TMFs a little more on all of this physical play. They could do something to clean this game up for sure. Sherwood breaks free, but a lot of contact there. He pushes off of Gibson. Gibson calls a foul.
An immediate pick call
At
on
halftime,
the reset.
At halftime, I asked the observers, have there been any TMFs issues? They said, oh, we can't issue TMFs if they're not calling things. And I'm like, I think they're calling things. And it's very clear they're calling things, but we're not getting any TMF calls. I don't understand what's happening. Marquette breaking away free. And Babbitt wide open, and Marquette going over the top. But the wind, too much opening of that edge. Wind pushed it over the head of the tall Babbitt. And Ironside with too many turnovers on defensive possessions here with opportunities to get a break. And I'm frustrated. I can't imagine what you feel like at home if you're a fan of Ironside.
Right, Ironside is giving up a lot of opportunities, but on the positive side, they've really shut down Bravo from getting more than halfway up the field. So this might be just a big confidence booster for their defense that they can get this, but then they really have to look at, on the flip side, what their offense is going to be once they get it back. Now with a short field, finally Marquette gets it to Rusty Ingold Smith, and this game is within one.
The game is within one. I mean, in some ways, this is like your classic 5-4 game. It is a close, I want to say competitive, but competitive implies that it's skilled. And I'm not seeing that out here, Topher. This is as sloppy as a top-level game can be.
Right.
Tweet your complaints to Boston _ Ironside and Johnny Bravo Ultimate. Let them know. Let them know what you think about this game. Because, you know, we're hoping for some excitement here. Maybe you can get them fired up for the remainder of this game. Cap is on. It is 10-9, game 2-12, folks. These teams are the 4th and 5th best teams in our country. Let's see what they've got.
Yeah, and to be a Nationals team and not make it to 15 in a pool play game, I know both teams are strong, and you could credit it to maybe it's a strong defense from both sides. Well, maybe there's a lot of exciting play, but this has been an unforced turnover-ridden game. And
the wind is down. It's not even that windy out here anymore, Topher. It feels like this is the least amount of wind we've seen since probably the first round, when it was maybe 10, 12 mile per hour winds. There's a little bit of a gust, but these aren't winds that these teams are unaccustomed to playing in.
Certainly not, and you know, this may just be a product of having a pool play where there's not an elimination point of it, but we shall see. As we've seen, as we talked about, like that downwind break was big, because now Ironside kind of has momentum, and if they get another upwind break, that's almost a 2-point swing, 4-point swing automatically. Watson flips it to Mickle, and a call is going to send the disc back to Watson.
And Ironside, interestingly enough, has gone to their depth here. I mean, they've played 2 consecutive D-lines in a row, and this is their second D-line out on the field. A lot of guys who haven't been playing a lot, and let's see if they can bring some energy and pick up the pace.
Yeah, sometimes you can get yourself back in this game by opening up the line, and then those younger guys, they are fired up to be on the field. They know that it, you know, maybe they're just like, it's a throwaway game. If you get the D, we're going to be pumped, but if you don't, that's okay. No one's upset at you. But a lot of times, those young players can come in, they can bring the energy that maybe the veterans have been missing.
So there's a contested foul away from the disc. Misha Sidorsky and Ryan Farrell, but it gets all worked out here. And Mickle with the disc over the shoulder to Farrell, just a few yards outside the end zone. And back towards midfield.
Watson being a nice anchor on the reset. He gets it up to Gibson just outside the end zone, and great cutting from Jackson Kluwer. They're able to put in that offensive point, and Bravo looks much smoother going downwind than they do going upwind.
So Bravo finally holds after a 3-point Ironside run. 11-9, and Bravo's at game point. Ironside with their O-line on, they need to hold here and then get another 2 consecutive breaks to win this game. But with the number of turnovers we've seen over the last few points and the way this game is going, breaks aren't impossible, right? It's clear that they can generate. I'm not sure if it's generate is the right word here. Bravo may give them the disc if Bravo can't get to that level of focus that they were playing at early in this game. And Ironside can convert.
Nick Lance is back on the field, ready to pull the disc after going out with a wrist injury. Good to know it's not that serious. they will need him. And coming down on the mark, Matty Farrell. It was a big bump into Cricket. Cricket in the center of the field. And there goes the TMF card?
Yeah, I think that's the TMF. So we actually, the observers pull out their TMF as we have 2 points left in this game max. Maybe 3.
Right, and you have to get to 3 TMFs for any yardage penalty to be enforced, so we'll see if that can happen in the last couple points.
Well, now we know where the limit of these observers is in terms of slow play ultimate.
The travel is called on the field.
Listen, guys, you guys can do this for the first 20 points, but then we're going to put our foot down. No more.
Right, well, the difference between that and a lot of it was Farrell came down. Marquette wasn't going anywhere, and it was just a clear, I'm bodying you to kind of get in your head. Oh, Loki hits it away. Taylor stays with it.
We've seen that. We've seen those cursory bumps initially on the mark several times. That wasn't the first time. And Taylor with the turnover opens another one up. Too much to the wind on a reset to Malachek. And Bravo just 10 yards out. Easy shot to Loki. Puts the game away. 12-9. Bravo takes the 1 seed out of the D pool. Game over.
Yeah, certainly not the game that we expected to see, Kyle, but I think you got to give credit to Bravo in the first half. By putting the game away that early, even though they took away energy from both teams and from us as broadcasters and for you as the fans, it's slower to watch. From a team perspective, that's exactly what you want. You want to take an early lead, you want to take the team out, and then win or lose, you've kind of won that mental game.
No doubt. The wind was out of the sails for Ironside in that first half when Bravo broke twice going into half to make it 8-4. The second half felt cursory, like both teams were just playing their O and D lines, trying to get out of the game without injury or serious exhaustion. And the focus was lost. And in the end, Bravo able to put it away on a break, 12-9. And now Bravo gives themselves an easier road to the semifinals. The flip side, though, is Bravo's maybe easier road to the semifinals, but now they're on the same side of the bracket as Revolver for that semifinal matchup if they can get through pre-quarters and quarters. Where Ironside, they're going to have to play a very tough quarters game, likely against the top seed, Sockeye. And then from there, they'll get Machine or whoever comes out of the other side of that side of the bracket.
Right, and tomorrow is the start of bracket play. We're excited to see what the teams will start to bring once elimination is on the line. We will be covering pre-quarters game. That matchup will be announced later tonight on the NGN network. Then we'll also be doing an open quarters game. So just 2 games tomorrow. Be sure to return here and watch us on the Next Gen network. We would like to thank our camera crews, Brian Bedord, Aki Odera, and Justin Salvia. Of course, the production crew in the booth with Vin Bowie and Suni and Ian Unger, excuse me. As for myself, I'm Topher Davis after a long day of coverage with Kyle Weisbrod, and we are gonna take our sign out. Thanks for watching.